The fabric tag on your shirt is touching your neck, and you want to rip it off immediately. That one food texture makes your skin crawl even though it tastes fine. And when people tell you you're being dramatic about textures, you can't explain why they're physically unbearable. Turns out your nervous system processes touch completely differently. Here's what most people don't understand about texture sensitivity. It's not you being picky. It's not you being dramatic. It's not some psychological issue you need to get over. Your tactile nervous system has what researchers call a low sensory threshold for certain inputs. Translation? The textures that other people barely notice send your nervous system into fight or flight. You're not overreacting. Your brain is genuinely processing that texture as a threat. Let's start with why most people don't have this problem. Their sensory thresholds are higher. When they touch velvet, or corduroy, or wet paper, or whatever texture bothers you, their brain registers it as neutral. Slightly unpleasant maybe, but not intolerable. Their nervous system filters it out as background noise. They can wear wool. They can eat mushy foods. They can touch styrofoam without their entire body tensing up. And because they don't experience what you experience, they assume you're exaggerating. But here's where it gets interesting. People who can't handle certain textures often have what psychologists call sensory processing sensitivity. It's a nervous system trait that affects about 15 to 20% of the population. Your tactile receptors send stronger signals to your brain. Your brain processes those signals more deeply. And certain textures trigger an autonomic response. Your skin actually crawls. Your stomach actually turns. Your fight or flight actually activates. This isn't in your head. This is your nervous system doing exactly what it's designed to do. Protect you from what it perceives as harmful input. Research from sensory. Processing studies shows that texture aversion is linked to how your brain's somatosensory cortex processes tactile information. Some people's brains have more sensitive tactile maps. They feel things more intensely, more specifically, with more detail. It's the same wiring that makes you notice subtle temperature changes or feel tags that other people forget are there. You're not oversensitive. You're accurately sensitive. Your nervous system just has the sensitivity dial turned up. I'll never forget the first time I cut every single tag out of my clothes, and someone asked why there were tiny scissors in my bathroom. And I tried to explain that fabric tags physically hurt my neck, and they looked at me like I was completely making it up. What? Yeah, apparently the thing that makes me want to tear my shirt off in the middle of the day is something most people don't even feel. I started paying attention and realized it wasn't just tags. Certain fabrics made me itchy even when they weren't itchy. Wet socks felt like actual torture. And don't even get me started on velvet. That texture makes me want to crawl out of my skin, and I genuinely cannot explain why to someone who doesn't feel it. Here's what researchers call tactile defensiveness. It's when your nervous system interprets certain touch sensations as threatening even when they're objectively harmless. Your brain doesn't distinguish between genuinely dangerous touch and uncomfortable texture. Both trigger the same alarm response. So when someone says, just ignore it or you'll get used to it, they're asking you to override a nervous system response you can't control. You can't think your way out of a tactile trigger any more than you can think your way out of pain. And let's talk about food textures, because this is where people really don't get it. You're not a picky eater. You have texture aversion. The mushiness of oatmeal, or the sliminess of oysters, or the graininess of pears isn't just unpleasant for you. It activates your gag reflex. Your nervous system is literally saying, do not put this in your body. And when people pressure you to just try it or it's all in your head, they're dismissing a genuine physiological response. Your body is rejecting the texture, not the taste. The texture. Now here's where I need to be real. There's a difference between sensory processing sensitivity, where certain textures bother you, and sensory processing disorder, where texture aversion interferes with daily functioning. If you can't get dressed because every fabric bothers you, or you can't eat most foods because textures are unbearable, that's worth talking to an occupational therapist about. Healthy texture sensitivity means you avoid specific textures but can function around them. Disordered texture sensitivity means textures are controlling your life. One is preference. The other is interference. Know the difference. But if you're someone who cuts tags out of clothes, avoids certain fabrics, can't eat specific food textures and gets called dramatic for having physical reactions to touch, you're not broken. You have a sensitive tactile nervous system. And there's actual research showing that people with sensory processing sensitivity often have higher creativity, deeper emotional processing, and stronger intuition. Your nervous system picks up details other people miss. That's not a defect. That's a feature. So if you're someone who physically can't handle certain textures while everyone else seems fine, hit subscribe, because this whole channel is psychology for people whose nervous systems work differently than what everyone expects. We break down why you're wired the way you are and give you permission to stop apologizing for sensory experiences you can't control. Here at Psyclipses, we don't just talk about psychology. We make it make sense for people whose bodies and brains don't match the standard settings. Next week, we're breaking down why some people need white noise to sleep, while others need total silence, and what that reveals about auditory processing differences. Your texture-free clothes are waiting, and you're allowed to wear them without explanation. You've got this.